What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
The base for the creation of the model was chosen from Peugeot 306. Citroen Berlingo is twin cars with Peugeot partner. They differ only in appearance and equipment. Suspensions, front spars, body cups here are from the passenger model. Even floors of the front part of the body are the same, but further there is a cargo platform of typical for pickups design with a flat corrugated floor of such size that a standard pallet can stand on it. The number of body options is quite large. There are variants with 2, 3, and 4 side doors, and the rear doors are sliding, and the tailgate can be hinged on vans or lifted in passenger variants. The saloon could be 2-seater with a blind rear part, and could be passenger 5, or even 7-seater. The car could even have a soft roof section or a panoramic sunroof over the cargo area. Since the model is budget, of course, there is no aluminum in the construction. Everything is strictly steel. In terms of technology, everything is quite simple. Here all elements are inherited from Peugeot 306 and Citroen ZX and even older. Platform Talbot Horizon, a Peugeot 309, on which they were created. The front suspension is McPherson. Rear suspension is on longitudinal arms with torsions. The motors are 1.1-litre TU1M plus 60 horsepower gasoline, 1.4-litre TU3 JP 75 horsepower and 1.8-litre XU7 JB 90 horsepower, all 8-valve, and the 1.6 TU5 JP4 109 horsepower, 16-valve. The 1.8 and 1.9 diesel engines at 58, 68, and 69 horsepower in the 161A, XUD9SD and DW8 series are also 8-valve, pre-chamber vortex engines. Turbo diesel 1.6 series DV6 TED4 and 2.0 DW10TD in 75 and 90 horsepower versions. Already with common rail power system. Transmissions are also light, B4 MA5 in versions with a shift mechanism with a rod and with cables. Due to the very long production run of the model, it was modernized 3 times with an update of onboard electronics, which will be described in more detail below. Timeline: July 1996. The Berlingo partner model family is presented to the public at the Paris Motor Show. 2 body variants, passenger and van. Petrol 1.1 and 1.4-litre engines with output of 60 and 75 horsepower. Diesel 1.8-litre with output of 58 horsepower. The younger motor comes with a 4-speed automatic transmission, and all others with 5-speed. January 1997. Diesel 1 9-litre 68 horsepower became available. March 1997. Appearance of multi-space version with folding soft roof section. Summer 1997. Appearance of cars with all-wheel drive from Dangle. Option available with the then new 1.890 horsepower gasoline engine and 1.9 diesel. October 1998. The 1.8-litre motor is also available for front-wheel drive versions of the car, only in top equipment. November 1999. Serious modernization of electronics. The cars received a completely new electrical system based on the Intelligent Block BSI and Switching Module BSM in the underhood space. At the same time, until the end of 2000, versions of the car with 1.4 and 1.8 diesel and old electronics will be on sale. New 2.0 diesel motors with turbocharging and common rail injection are available with 90 horsepower. The 1.1-litre motors are no longer offered. December 2000. Introduction of Mogitop roof with 5 sunroofs and built-in bins. Introduction of new 1.6-litre 109 horsepower gasoline engine. October 2002. Model facelift. New body with the code M59 with more modern appearance, wide headlights and updated interior. The engine range has changed a lot. The 1.4-litre engine received a new control system and increased traction. The 1.8-litre gasoline and diesel engines have been completely discontinued. In the new range of motors, petrol 1.4-litre 75 horsepower and 1.6-litre 109 horsepower, diesel 1.9 68 horsepower and 2.0 90 horsepower. The all-wheel drive variant remains available only with the 2.0 diesel. October 2005. Second restyling. New sliding doors, small changes of exterior and interior. New generation of electronic systems, BSI and BSM modules of the second generation and functionality in the form of cruise control. With limiter, new multimedia systems, ESP, rain, and light sensors. Diesel engines 1.9 and 2.0 have been replaced by turbo diesel 1.6 of DV6 family in 75 and 90 horsepower variants. All-wheel drive versions are no longer available. June 2008. Due to the launch of the second generation of the model, the first one is limited to the basic configuration Berlingo first with two engines, 1.4 and 1.675 horsepower diesel. The cars were produced in parallel with the second generation until the end of 2009 in Europe. In Argentina, production continues until now. For September 2021 is available multi-space XTR version with 1.6 HDI. Bodywork. Exterior panels. It is useless to look for an ideal Berlingo in our area. It is unlikely that you will find a collector's copy. These cars were used very actively, and the mileage already when delivered from Europe often exceeded 300,000, plus the same amount of mileage may well be rolled in Russia, given the age. The oldest copies after restyling have already crossed the threshold of 15 years, and the early pre-restyled cars are approaching the 25-year threshold. Something relatively alive can be found only among the cars of the last years of release, which miraculously appeared in caring hands, and do not roll up 100,000 a year. In general, let's say at once, small pockets of corrosion should not embarrass you, as current owners are not embarrassed by paint, roller and all sorts of scratches and dents. When buying, it is only a question of checking the main power elements and the general safety of the body panels, so that they were not repaired by the method of putty on newspaper or paint on rust. Acceptable appearance is possible only for cars after the second restyling and used by private individuals. Of course, galvanization of most of the panels and generally simple architecture of the body leave some chances that there will be an earlier copy in a relatively alive form, but do not count on it. Although rusty spots can be almost everywhere, but attention should be paid to those that affect the power structure of the body. First of all, look at the windshield frame. They often change it, damaging the paintwork, and paint chips along the upper edge have not been cancelled. The sills are also a very problematic and stressed area visible from the outside, and inversions with optional sliding doors, replacing the sills is a rather complex process that is rarely done well, preserving the connections between all the internal elements of the structure. Thresholds rot from the ends in the arches, as well as from the inside due to accumulations of dirt. Well, an attempt to lift a loaded van on a jack ended with a broken sill on new cars. By the way, if desired, the jack can be placed under the suspension arm in the rear and front. Front and rear arches rot away from the outside slowly enough, and due to the peculiarities of the design it is not terrible. The inner arch is well accessible from inside the body, and its roll joint is far from the outer edge. It is definitely worth checking the seams of the rear door opening and the integrity of the front door openings, the condition of the seams of the windshield pillars. These body parts are damaged during regular overloads. The condition of other elements is not so critical. Certainly, the bottoms of the doors are rusting along the bolts, the front edge of the hood from the inside, rear doors, and hinged. And lifting, areas around the handles, all parts of the body near the sandblast zones and the lower part of the door openings, but these are trifles against the background of damage to the supporting structure. This kind of damage is peculiar to Berlingo and partners even in ideal climate and causes only cosmetic troubles. From below, even cars of the last years of production should not be bought without inspection on an elevator. Damages of body floors, spars, internal arches at the back on cars produced in 2002 to 2008 are almost always present. Cars before restyling without rewelded floors and arches are simply not found in nature. Since the French have put a rather thick layer of mastic on the most part of power elements, you will have to poke with a screwdriver during inspection and knock with a hammer. Often there is no metal under the bituminous layer, and what seems to be a solid construction simply falls apart in hands. The whole rear part of the body, rear wheel arches along the lower part along the spar and rear suspension mounting points, body floors, longitudinal floor members, all these elements may turn out to be in pieces. Cargo vans without internal thermal insulation often have better floor conditions than passenger vans, which have a lot of condensation, and poorer access to the body floor from the inside. And the body tightness of the cargo versions is worse than that of vans because of the additional door openings. The sliding door openings and roof joints leak extensively. Water in the Berlingo's interior is the rule rather than the exception. The very construction from a set of overlapping panels, fastened with the floors of the body from a passenger car, leaves a lot of gaps without sealant, and the elaboration of openings turned out to be very average. Add to this more leaks of antifreeze from the heat exchanger heater on many cars. If the floors were not dried, there will be deep corrosion, dead wiring, and puddles under the carpets. The mats on the floor have a base of foam and are covered with felt. They absorb moisture perfectly and do not give it back. Inspection of the interior from the inside is also obligatory. If they let you lift the carpets during the inspection, fine, but if not, at least squeeze the foam in the legs of the driver and passenger. Check the rust on the seat mounts, lift the cargo area cover, carefully inspect the sill recesses, the joints of the rear, arches and floors in the cargo area, as well as the joint of the floor and side body panels. The first thing to check in the engine compartment is the condition of the body cups. In cars after restyling, there should be no corrosion here. The 3-layer panel of the cup is reinforced, and if there are traces of rust, it can be removed only by drilling out the whole panel and replacing it with a whole one. This is, to put it mildly, difficult. There are no new panels. There is a ghostly chance to find one at the dismantling. It is easier not to mess with cars where the cups have already gone. Corrosion of the inner fender panel, which is a power element here, is much easier to treat and does not represent a special problem. Usually the area between the cup and the inner arch is damaged, which rusts from both sides at once and at the bottom, in the places of adjoining to the sill and the fender, where dirt accumulates even with the whole locker. Many cars have not had a locker for many years. The overmotor niche is also worth inspecting. Debris accumulates in it, clogging the drains. Corrosion is rare, but if it exists, the joint of the cup and the side pocket will be difficult to save. In general, the body is quite simple in design and not badly repairable. The most difficult part of it is the front cups and sills. They are multi-layered. The rest of the elements are simple in shape and well accessible. This makes it possible to keep the cars in running condition in regions where bodywork is inexpensive. In large cities, buying a patched-up car makes little sense. All additional seams will bloom, and the car will rot very quickly, and repair work will cost more than the car itself. Body equipment, as with any commercial vehicle with space mileage, the average condition of all equipment is very poor. Breakdowns are much more than in passenger cars of the same years. Do not believe the odometers. The mileage is twisted easily and without traces, and 200 to 300,000 kilometers for the machines. Of 2007 to 2008 years of production is rather a norm than an exception. What is the mileage of cars of the early 2090s? You can guess yourself. It is not always clear why there are so many breakdowns of any of the elements. Maybe it is really unreliable, and maybe it is just natural wear and tear. So, the breakage of headlight housings at first glance, a systemic problem. All owners complain about cracks and the need for restoration. But with mileage 300 plus and purely urban operation, and even with a shortage of spare parts, this is generally the norm. Especially with frequent small accidents, lapping, and other joys associated with the traveling work of cars. The rubbing and weak windshield to a greater extent is a problem of design, aerodynamics, and softness of glass. And wiper blade failures are rather, again, a consequence of high average mileage. Good thing that many small parts here are from Xantia ZX, as well as Peugeot 306 or 206. If we try to single out some points against the background of failures in terms of service life, the mechanism is very capricious. In cars with a sliding door before 2005, sealing is insufficient. In conditions of snowy winter, it will be necessary to wash and silicone every week. French bumpers have very fragile outer shells and weak brackets. Moldings are held rather weakly. Losses of Dodger elements happen regularly. Unified all-French fog lights are disposable and require regular replacement, and it's good if they are there at all. Light is weak. In cars before restyling, headlights do not shine at all, and in restyling simply burns out over time. Reflector and rubbed plastic headlights, it is better to change to new ones than to pick up whole and not burned among BA. Even original ones are inexpensive, a little more than 10,000 rubles, and the choice of Taiwanese ones is huge. Hella from passenger versions costs twice as much, but, they say, it shines better. Mirror vibrations are constantly evident. With old diesel engines, it is useless to fight the phenomenon. The quality of door seals is very poor. Wind howling at speed and drafts are rather the rule. Berlingos in general are very noisy, both in terms of engines and chassis. Installation of additional noise insulation is almost useless. Even a couple of tens of kilograms gives only a pleasant decrease in timbre, but no more than that. Wheel rims on cars manufactured before 2005 are without a center hole, so not only everyone can balance them. Even official dealers often do not have the necessary equipment in good condition. Someone drills discs, someone buys an adapter and takes it with him, and many city cars have wheels not balanced at all. So don't be surprised that there are complaints about steering racks, lugs, and suspension, which we'll talk about in detail in the second part of this article, in part 2. The breakable roof antenna is a perennial headache if the car sleeps overnight in the garage. The design is too stiff and uncomfortable. In general, it is better to say thank you to PSA for the fact that the majority of cars on sale are in bare configurations, without any electric drives and heaters. Otherwise, the list of problems would be much longer. Berlingo is the case when there is nothing to break. Detail original price of non-original 2 body parts: front headlight halogen 8678 TYC 5913 Hella 17302. Windshield 21132 Pilkington 2997 Spectre 8495 front wing, not available Gordo 4136 API 5199 front bumper 17527 Eurobump 3659. Sineda 7164 hood 37859 average 11143 Blick 21300 Salon. Wax steering wheel plastic, foreign buttons, and worn seats with holes in the lining are waiting for you in most cars. Even cars of the last years of production are often already in a sad state: commercial operation, huge mileage, careless drivers. And the style of maintenance just to drive leave little chance. Passenger versions hold up well for privateers up to mileage over 200 plus. Rude attitude can break anything, and mechanical windows fly, and simple climate control units break. The plastic simply cannot withstand. Wear of elements at high mileage creates fantastic breakdowns. So, Dragonfly, block of paddle shifters, at mileage 500 plus loses fixed positions of turn signals, stops switching on high beam. And the mechanism of turn signals clicking off also stops working. The dash panels give up at very high mileage. It is possible to put a variant from Peugeot 206, but compatibility is incomplete, and repair is expensive. Many cars drive with inoperative fuel level, temperature, and not only sensors. In the steering column, the backlash of the gimbal becomes huge and clearly perceptible over time. Airbag loops are completely erased. They are repaired several times, sometimes to the point of cutting the edge of the loop that the steering wheel starts to tear it when turning, and the signal in the steering wheel has worn contacts. The ignition lock is loosened to the point of start with a screwdriver, and the contact group is changed several times. From the good news, many Citroen models on this platform have long been mastered by Dongfeng in China, and for them there is sold almost all the electrics, and both for variants before the introduction of BSI, and after. Including from China, you can order for modest money, about 2,000 rubles, and ignition contact group. Approximately the same cost paddle levers, steering wheels, and much more. A loose gearshift mechanism is a rule rather than an exception. The ball of the rocker is worn off, the mechanism itself is broken in the underhood space, it disassembles itself, and the rods fly away from wear. Versions with cable drive from passenger versions with 1.6 diesel engine are more reliable, but there the mechanism sours with time, and cable tips fall off. Climatics is quite simple and reliable. Leaks of the heater are most often associated with infrequent replacement of antifreeze and blown joints of plastic and aluminum. Sealing rings, as on later cars of the PF2 platform, e.g., Peugeot 307 or Citroen C4, there are none. Breakages of flaps and cables are usually a consequence of brute force and corrosion of cable jackets due to leaks from the windshield. The air conditioner does not break for a simple reason: it is not here, as a rule. Electrics. On electrics, cars can be divided into 2 generations, before the introduction of BSI block and after, and models with BSI, in turn, into 2 periods, before 2005 and after. Cars up to 2000, or up to 2001, if we are talking about 1.4 engine and 1.8 diesel, have old-fashioned onboard electrics, the main problem of which are weak wiring, immobilizer module failures. It is separate here and disconnected from engine ECU Metronic MP7 ANDLT. And 3. Problems with gasoline pump wiring and fans. The wiring in the cabin suffers first of all from moisture under the carpets and body structure. Just in its box gets moisture from the door opening. The wiring of the engine compartment simply falls apart from old age, but it is very simple there. Good mono-injection 1, and simple. Distributed injection on 1, 4 engines are bypassed by a minimum number of sensors. Diesel engines have even less wiring, and only a broken wire on the fuel system locking valve will lead to engine failure. The wiring to the gasoline pump is terrible already on the very first cars. Failures due to relays or corrosion of the fuse box and the pad on the pump itself happened even before the BSM appeared. The fans burn out the low-speed resistors, and the Bitron fan control unit is located in such a lucky place as the left wheel arch, where its contacts and all wires at such an age turn into a layer of oxide, and the unit itself usually cannot be restored due to corrosion of the board. Smaller failures are also almost obligatory. Breakage of backlighting, wiring to the rear and front headlights, non-functioning ABS units, it's all typical. Nobody cared if something not very necessary broke. Upgrading to a smarter electrical system in 1999 to 2000 was initially a nightmare for all French car owners. Even now, when second-hand BSM units of the latest generations are inexpensive and widely available, and can be reflashed, it is still very troublesome. Constant failures haunt owners, and even beefed-up wiring quality doesn't fix the problem. Any power failures, cigarette lighters, or drain batteries can cause a huge list of troubles. Keys lost by the unit, headlights that turn on accidentally, inoperable locks, wipers and lights. The above-mentioned trouble with body tightness adds to the headache. BSI and BSM blocks are often flooded, and they are very afraid of moisture. A little more detailed about these blocks and related difficulties is written in the material about Citroen C5 I the 2005 updates. Drastically reduce the severity of all electronics problems. Those breakdowns still happen. The non-replaceable BSM relays are getting older, but there is no longer the feeling that the car is ticking and something is about to happen. Less BSI program failures, less sensitivity to power failures, better sealing and contact corrosion protection. From that point on, the machine is still somewhat troublesome, but still adaptable for daily use. On older machines, the blocks are gradually replaced by later ones. Good thing it is technically possible. The first generation of Berlingo and partner have already reached the age when trouble-free operation cannot be expected. There are chances to find something alive at the upper limit of the market, and first of all it is worth to consider the freshest variants, not only because of the age in general, but also because of much more reliable electrics. In Part 2 we will discuss the tricky running gear of these cars, as well as the engines and transmission. In conclusion, the Citroen Berlingo I, while a practical choice for many, often presents challenges as it ages. With mileage that can lead to wear and tear, it's crucial to be aware that the body may not remain intact over time. Additionally, the electrical systems can be more complex than they initially appear, requiring careful attention and maintenance. If you're considering this vehicle, ensure you conduct thorough inspections and be prepared for potential repairs. Thank you for watching, and we hope this information helps you make an informed decision.